Constantly shifting through the time-space continuum, Metron's three disciples observe the universe from the Mobius Couch.
I dreamed a dream in time gone by when hope was high and life worth living. I dreamed that love would never die. I prayed that God would be forgiving. To the Mobius Couch. Ladies and gentlemen, that's of course Les Miserables. That lyric, of course, is from that. But welcome to the Mobius Couch.
Have you been watching a lot of musical theater?
I don't know what you're talking about. Time is a flat circle. We live only in this moment. And I don't know what we've sung in previous episodes, but
all right.
For this one, it's Les Miserables. Of course.
You know, there's a theory. There's a theory that your future impacts you as much as your past does, because everything time's a circle. Time's a circle, so it's already happened. So
it's almost like it's a wheel of time.
That is not. That's not at all what my therapist has said when unpacking my trauma. Seems like it's all based on the past and not on the future.
Sounds like your therapist is a grifter. Sounds like they're grifting.
Could be. We're the Mobius Couch, which is a time-space interdimensional vehicle for which your three hosts oversee the world of comic books and comic book adaptation. Media, because we're talking about a show today. We're, of course, I don't know why I said of course. You don't know what we're talking about today. We're talking about Invincible Season 2, Amazon Prime. This is, of course, based on the Robert Kirkman. It's not Jonathan Hickman, right? It is Kirkman, right?
Kirkman,
Robert Kirkman
yes.
comic Invincible. And it is on Amazon Prime. And it is a TV show. And we're going to talk about it. But before we talk about it, joining me today, time out. I'm Alessandro. And joining me today are Patrick and Joe. Hey, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
I am Patrick.
How dare you? Patrick, hey, how's it going, man?
Doing this right? Oh, hey, how's it going?
It seems pretty rude that he keeps leaving us out. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
I introduced both of you. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, it's really weird. Really weird.
Okay.
So Invincible.
I was okay with it that time too. It kind of fit.
Again, I need to switch the screens out.
Yeah, it makes sense. So Invincible, of course, this is season 2, which implies that there was a season 1, also on Amazon Prime. This is based on is it Image comic? I think it's an Image comic. Invincible, again, by Robert Kirkman. And who does the art? Actually, I need to look at who does the... Not that it matters because we're talking about the show.
There's two. There's one main. Corey Walker does... Okay. I think the majority... I feel like there's a fill-in artist. Oh, yeah, Ryan Otley does...
Okay.
Some of the art as well.
So they're the main
I'm not sure which one is considered the main artist. I think Corey Walker is the main artist. I think Ryan Otley fills in.
All right. So Kirkman and Walker did the original comic. This is a TV show animated by probably underpaid Taiwanese animators, I'm assuming. I'm not sure who animates it in that sense. Probably. But that's probably a good guess. So let's talk.
Very beautifully done. So I mean, I can't speak to their pay, but their work is good.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's just jump right in. Again, we're not going to do. I know usually when we talk about comic runs, we do kind of issue by issue. I think we're just going to talk about the season as a. We're just going to talk.
Yeah, we're going to discuss the season as a whole.
At this point, also
difficult. Let's try to keep it as slightly in a linear fashion, just for my
we'll try.
Art wise,
but I think also the season I think ended months ago at this point. So spoiler.
Yeah,
alert.
It's been a little while. Yeah.
Spoilers. We're just spoilers,
I guess. Yeah, for season 2.
We're just going to talk about it. So if you care about that, turn it off, or don't, or leave it on to give us the listen.
So before we completely jump in, I do want to just talk about the comic for a second.
Sure.
And I read it a very long time ago when it first started coming out. And they started putting out these ultimate... I don't have dust jackets anymore because I despise them. But these very thick ultimate versions of the collection.
Can you talk about how thick?
Well, the volume 1's pretty thick. The rest of them, not so much.
But it's a hardcover, right? So how hard and how thick?
They're nice hardcover versions. But I only got up to volume 4. They're on like 12 now. So, like, this is how long it's been since I picked up Invincible and kept reading it. So, not to say that it's not good. I like it a lot. In fact, based on the cartoon show that I also thoroughly enjoy, I should start reading it again. Because if I'm not mistaken, just glancing through volume 4 is the last one I have. And it basically ends where season 2 kind of ends. So I don't know anything past that. So weirdly enough, spoiler wise, for me, Invincible might as well just be season 1 and 2 because
the comic is still ongoing currently, right? I think it's basically
it's still going
forever.
Yeah,
so it is. It's still going.
I think it's still going.
So. Maybe I'm wrong.
Let me Wikipedia it.
I stopped reading it after his little brother grows up and gets superpowers.
So you're past me for sure.
He becomes terrifying. He's terrifying.
The little kid in volume 4 is still like, I don't know, a little kid, but he is going out and like punching people.
Oh no,
he's a very small child.
The series ended in 2018. It's been
so it did end. All right, well that's
okay.
Good. Actually,
it ended.
That's actually cool though, because now I know I can go and get the rest of the Ultimate Edition slowly and read through them, and I know it comes to an end. That's kind of fun.
Is this the first Robert Kirkman property we've talked about?
I believe so. Yeah, because I think
it is.
It is.
Okay,
yeah.
Probably. I get confused because of all the times we've confused him with Jonathan.
Well, Jonathan Hickman is a different
Jonathan Hickman. Yeah,
the Hickman is not the Kirkman. Yeah, well, he did Walking Dead, and I mean, he's a big deal. I just wanted to bring it up just because the Kirkman is, an icon.
Yeah, Volume 4 Ultimate Collected Edition, meaning long after the issues actually hit the stands, 09. So it's been a while since I read an Invincible comic. That being said, the cartoon, which is what we're talking about tonight, very fun. I'm really enjoying it. I like the art. I like the storytelling. I enjoy the main character, Patrick, and it's fun. It's fun to see like a very well realized version of a comic, like done justice in
I want to come right out because
not quite live action.
A lot of people have dumped on season 2 like it's somehow worse than season 1, and I just want to come right out hot and say that I loved season 2. Like
I love season 2.
It's the same.
I thought it built upon season 1 very well.
Yeah.
How is it any different than season 1?
I think there may be like certain, and I think the season 2 makes fun of itself about it. I think they
reference directly the art shortcuts.
So there were a few I think that weren't as obvious in season 1, but overall the story I thought was fantastic in season 2.
I thought it was great. I thought it did a great job of like taking forward all the different characters' threads.
I agree.
Forward in season 2, I thought it worked great. I read a lot of hate about season 2, and I do not understand it. I think if you liked season 1, how do you not just enjoy season 2 as the next season in the show?
No idea.
Because
it continues the story perfectly.
Is it like those fucking people who worship Homelander? Like, were they obsessed with Omni-Man and the fact that he wasn't in the show?
Maybe, but that's still not. That didn't go anywhere though. Like, so if that's the case,
season 2 plenty. I think he's in it a lot for not.
Yeah, but he's also in it as a conflicted, not Homelander character. I mean, he is. Okay. He is still, but he's clearly conflicted with like his love of his human family in this season, and
his insect family,
and his love for his son. I mean, aside from the insect family,
anyway, I know we
clearly he's dealing with like how to reconcile who he was with who he's become. Yeah, so I mean, like he's a Homelander with a conscience. I would say.
We do overall takes as a segment, but I just wanted to say I really had fun with season 2, and I don't understand what the criticism is. I just thought it was great. It was good.
I didn't even realize there was criticism because I don't pay attention.
Yeah, in corners of the internet, people were saying like, "Oh, it's like the animation's bad and the story's pointless and it's filler and it's a waste of time."
Oh my gosh, I didn't think that at all. And granted, I was patient and waited.
That at all.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but season 2 was released in 2 chunks, was it not? Like maybe it was like a few episodes.
I think they did the first 4 episodes.
Yes. So I knew that was happening, so I did not watch season 2 until it was like wrapping up, kind of thing. So I like binged watched season 2, and by the time I was done binge watching it, like the last episode or two had come out. So like I got to continue watching. So like I didn't have a break. So maybe that's people's issues, because I mean I feel like it works better if you have the whole story, you know.
So
maybe that's where the negativity is coming out.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how we want to talk about everything. There's three things I want to talk about.
Okay.
One is when Mark and his dad fight the Viltrumites on the alien planet.
Okay.
2 is when Mark fights Angstrom Levy at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 is the Viltrumite named Anissa, who is
terrifying.
My newest crush.
Of course it is.
She is everything you could possibly want in a woman times a million. She is like, I have no notes on her she is perfection.
She's fantastic, by the way.
So I just want to talk about those are the main 3 things. We can talk about it now or later. I don't care, but those are the 3 points I want to hit because those were like my favorite parts of the season.
The only
and Patrick, you had kind of expressed an interest in basically talking about all the side characters. So I think between the two of you, I just want to
talk about, you know,
I think we can cover all our bases.
Just want to talk about Shapesmith, Amber, Debbie, Donald, Rexplode, William, Alan, Duplicate, Mortal, Omni-Man, and the Stequids. That's all I want to talk about.
All right, cool.
My overall take is I really like the season. I like the show in general. I think the animation is really good. The soundtrack, I think, is fantastic. I think they do. Whoever is picking the songs, does a very good job of matching it with
an OC Invincible.
Yes.
It is. It's basically right.
There is a lot of song breaks. Like they take time to let the music play, and like he just slowly flies through a city while he's like, you know, thinking. Yeah. And it's not like it's monologued or something. He's just like taking it in and seeing.
No, it's good, but it's also licensed music. It's a good. It has an OC sensibility to the soundtrack that I do enjoy. But also, what is this if not just superhero OC? I mean, they're all in high school and college, and
that is very true.
Trying to make it work.
The OC for our viewers that are tiny children.
Oh my god!
I'm just joking.
It's an old show. Just look it
up. Anyway, the season kind of starts with a different version of Invincible that you don't realize it's different right away. But then, like, basically, it's the version of Invincible that sided with his father instead of fighting him. And then it kind of introduces this scientist character that becomes like, you know, more of the villain, the ultimate villain.
Nerd.
But I enjoyed that. So again, like being able to watch it all in one go, I think does do it a stronger justice than if it had cut at episode 4. I would have been like, yeah, right. This is kind of slow and I don't know where it's going. But as a whole, I think it's a fantastic season.
I will say I just watched it as they came out, and again, as an old person who used to watch television in the olden days,
you're fine.
I like the anticipation of I got to see these 2 episodes, and in a week there'll be 2 more. Awesome! Like I actually enjoyed
I don't mind that either. Like for instance, and we're gonna maybe do this soon. X-Men '97 kind of did that. I started watching it before it was Ember, and I don't mind waiting week to week. It's waiting months in between. Episode 4 and episode 5 that I think would be that. I don't mind waiting a week or 2 for an episode, you know?
Yeah. I enjoyed X-Men 97 and how they did Invincible, where it would come out like week by week and it keeps the conversation going and all that good stuff. But the fact that they just released the first 4 episodes and then it was like months before the next episode came out. I just would have rather they'd delayed the start of the entire series and just done it week by week as opposed to that huge chunk.
Patrick, the underpaid Taiwanese animators went on strike and they had to take a break and, you know, fire all of them and then hire cheaper Malaysian animators.
More underpaid.
And that took time.
Animators.
Okay. Sorry. So go ahead. You were setting it up. So I guess
the impetus of the season is basically like there's alternate versions of Invincible. There's the multiverse exists, I guess, you know, kind of thing, and that's the whole, you know, what's his name? Levy?
Angstrom
Levy.
The bad guy.
The thing we find out is that in most universes, Invincible sides with his dad and is evil. And this is the one universe where he's not evil.
Which I thought was a really interesting wrinkle kind of thing to introduce.
Yeah.
I thought it was a fun aspect of like it takes Angstrom as well, one, there's an accident and he becomes a villain. But I mean, it's really because he absorbs all the memories of his other selves and he's conflicted. But he's in the one universe where Invincible is not his enemy and he can't get past it. And I loved that aspect of that character. It's just such a good idea. Like in terms of, the classic, I don't know. He's kind of a Lex Luthor in that he's like a scientist at first, but then he becomes like this weird mutant dude. But
I'll say sort of my one main complaint about the season is I feel like the Levy character development was sort of just forced and not really signaled well enough because he seemed like he was well-meaning to begin with.
He was, absolutely.
And then just because he became a monster, then he was suddenly an evil maniac.
And Joe, so I missed it on the first watch. I missed that part, and I caught it on the second watch. So what happens is, the main Angstrom is from the universe where Invincible
is a good person. Yeah, but
all
the other ones
are from the universe.
No, I get right.
Him.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I mean, but then once he's an evil monster, he's like
because he's merged. He's merged.
But I mean, he becomes like unstable, and he can't. Right. Yeah.
Well, it's not that he has the memories. I feel like the unstable is the mental image or the memories of the current universe that we're in, where Invincible isn't good, and that's the only thing that makes him unstable. If it was,
but he is unstable. He like talks to himself and has tics and stuff like an insane.
There's literally 100 different.
Yeah,
there's like 100 different versions of himself that's inside of him. And 99 of them had experiences with Invincible where he's...
So I understand the technicality of why he's evil. I would have liked more than just an episode where he becomes a monster and then a final episode where he shows up again suddenly.
He does. He pops up
he's the bad
in the middle there.
A little bit more of a journey.
They have cut scenes of him going to other places and like repairing his body and like finding Invincible's evil still there.
It was cryptic little cutaways. I don't know.
I liked
a little bit more of a
journey. I liked the first episode. I like the end caps. I like the first episode being like, this horrible thing happened to this dude who had good intentions. And then the last episode, and there's the cutaway scenes in between there, but like the last episode end caps with, I'm coming to kill you now because I think you're evil. Okay. 99% of me thinks you're evil.
Yes. I mean, I personally would have liked a little bit more of a journey for that
Let me ask you something.
A little bit
if I weigh 99 pounds and I eat a pound of pizza, am I 1% pizza?
Yes.
I think so. I'm not sure. I think so.
Well, my experience was I thought he was just really pissed off because he was mutilated, and I was like, he's really done a 180. And then when I was like, oh, it's because
but it is the other.
It's all the other versions of.
Well, I do think a little bit of it. I do think a little bit of it is he is pissed off that he's a freak. I do think that's.
I think that's the conflict between the Angstrom we know and the Angstrom that we still know at the end. That is part of the conflict. But the majority of the conflict is that he has 99 other brains inside of him that are going, Invincible's fucking evil, dude. That kind of thing. Like, he can't reconcile with that.
But some of it is, and he is an ugly freak, man. He's completely disgusting.
That's true. He's a weird brain, shoulder, neck man. I don't know what's going on there.
What's weird is, so when he melded with all these people, only his brain grew. But what's weird is, like, for example, he didn't get like 19.
Well, he was in like a Cerebro helmet.
So okay, but why didn't like his dick grow to be 50 times? Why was it only his brain?
Because he was just absorbing their minds, man.
His bicep, like a real giant bicep,
So anyway, Invincible is conflicted.
He is, Invincible.
He's conflicted from the last season.
We should. Can we? I just want to make this note. Please edit everything I've said about Angstrom Levy from the beginning to now.
Absolutely not.
Like, cut all of it out.
The idea that season 2 isn't as maybe action packed, or maybe like it's slower paced, because the first 4 episodes really do kind of deal with him, like actually the whole season really, but like it kind of deals with him trying to figure out if he even wants to do this. He's like, and ultimately he decides to not. And he's like, I don't want to join your stupid like government agency, Caleb, kind of thing. And he just goes and does like college. He tries to, at least, but he keeps getting waylaid by adventures. But he essentially tries to not be a superhero for a little bit and just be a kid and go to school. And it just doesn't work out. And by the end of the season, of course, he's like, fine. All right. Kind of count me in, coach, kind of thing. But I really like that overall arching arc for him, like trying to figure out if he wants to do this in the wake of not only losing his father, but what happened with his father, which is fucked up, kind of thing. Like finding out your father's a villain and like wants to murder everybody is insane. So like that, the reconciliation from season 1 to the first chunk of season 2, I feel like is very well done. And like, I think it does a good job of showing the trauma that he went through from that event and like what he had to like, I don't know, mentally get past to even want to be a superhero again. Or is he doing it for the right reasons? Or is he scared that he's going to become his father? Or, and all these things that he's dealing with. I thought it was very well done. So again, I didn't know there was a lot of hate for season 2. So this is news to me, but also they're stupid.
Well, I also,
this is good fucking writing.
Well, another thing I enjoyed about season 2 is, looking at the family dynamics. Both Mark and his Debbie's his mom's name, right? Mm-hmm. But like, they both kind of go through similar journeys of like, how do you reconcile the fact that like your husband / father?
Yeah, she's dealing. That's another thing. They don't, because she's trying to sideline the mom. Yeah, they really, and you can keep talking now, but they don't sideline her. They really paint a picture of like what she's going through too.
Right, sorry, but sorry. I mean, as Mark is trying to figure out, how do I be a superhero and what do I do work-wise and life-wise to deal with this? Debbie's doing the same thing. Like she's trying to be a real estate agent again, but then sort of has breakdowns related to the trauma she went through. So they both have these like parallel paths of just reconciling the fact that this person they loved
isn't who they thought he
most of their lives is like literally just a horrible villain, like a genocidal villain. Mm-hmm. And I know it's weird to even say, because it sounds like parody to even say that out loud, but he's within this world, he's literally a genocidal maniac.
Monster, like, yeah. And I was obsessed with Debbie's storyline. I think I could have watched an entire show just about her, because you get that trope all the time of, what if Superman was evil? There's, I don't know how many different characters that are in that trope, but
DC Elseworlds alone before you even get into all the other fake Supermans that are out there.
But it's rare to see what happens to Lois Lane in the world where Superman's turned into a lunatic, and how does she cope with that? And I feel like Debbie's not Lois Lane, but seeing her journey and how she's processing that. And it just like, there are a few moments that had me in tears when she kind of like breaks down and thinks she's at the house by herself and she's crying, and Mark walks in on her and like doesn't really know how to comfort her. Like that messed me up.
Pats her on the back, but then they hug.
Yeah. And then like,
because even specific to Debbie, just real quick too, another thing that's really poignant is she talks about her past with Omni-Man and there's some flashbacks, but the very kind of romantic things that drew her to him, like the fact that he flew her to Paris instantly and would bring her gifts from across the world, like the very things that kind of were peak displays of their love for each other are because he's a Superman who can destroy the world. Like it's the same powers that enable him to destroy the earth and kill millions of people are the same powers that attracted her to him and allowed them to have these wonderful getaways and a life together. So to reconcile that is they did an interesting job of kind of showing her struggle with that. Like the same person who took me to Paris on the snap of a finger, and that's why I love him,
killed the Justice
League. That's the same ability that allows him to murder a subway train full of people in an instant, which is what happened in season 1, kind of thing. And that was just interesting to see her deal with all that.
And like she literally has no one to talk to, because there's even that scene where she syncs up with the spouses of superheroes that died.
Yes,
and
yeah.
it's like she's finally meeting people to talk to, and then the one guy she hits it off with is the spouse or ex-lover of that world's Green Lantern, and he finds out that Omni-Man is her, like, it's not the same, like, your husband killed my wife, like, he's still alive. It's like it's not the same type of trauma that was devastating for her. Like, it's like right when she's starting to meet someone to talk about it, like that's torn away from her, and he leaves her feeling like shit. I mean, the guy basically says, "Don't show your face at this group again."
Yeah, never.
And
not don't talk to me.
I mean, she
like,
probably
don't
shouldn't. He's right.
when she should.
Well, and then I feel like the what's the name of the costume?
I disagree. I feel like she
they're,
has a right to be there too. It's just in a different capacity.
I don't.
And they're
I
not
don't.
ready to deal with it.
I don't think Hitler's wife should go to a Survivors of the Holocaust meeting.
She's not Hitler's wife.
This is a very clear analog to like that. Yeah, I don't think she should be going to those meetings.
Hitler's wife knew who Hitler was. You know what I mean? Like,
okay, but I just mean you don't go to the support group of the people that like your husband killed.
Well, she didn't realize that, kind of thing. Like, she was just there she was in a support. No, they could have been like Batman that died, like jumping into a subway train to like stop the Joker or something. Like,
I do think if she needs support, honestly, the Bug Baby's nanny seemed like she'd probably be good.
Oh, she was great, but also like Mark. She was very the key here is that Mark and her are all that's left, and they're both shattered from that moment. So
no, it was the part I loved the most was the fucking costume maker when he has the pep talk.
Oh yeah, he was great. Yeah,
that shit. Like, I was like in tears.
Didn't have him. Like, I don't.
Yeah, because he was his best friend. You know,
and he was also dealing with it, and he's the only one that knew and understood what they were going through. So he's kind of the only one that can.
So that was, I believe, the writing that character is voiced by Mark Hamill, right? I believe.
Yeah, I think that's Mark Hamill. Yeah,
but that's why I just thought like the pacing and the detail they put, because this isn't really in the comic book. Like, the comic is great, but like there's so much more explored in the animated show than in the comic. Like, I don't remember,
a lot of it's truncated. Like I said, volume 1 through 4 of the Ultimate collection, like the first giant chunk of the story is just season 1 and 2. So like they've condensed a lot of the story, and I think there might be pieces of 5 in sprinkle. Again, not having read it, but it feels like there's pieces of 5 in the show. So like, again, I feel like they're doing a good job of truncating the story and keeping the pace good or quick and moving, while also exploring aspects of the story that wasn't really very well explored in the comic book, which is, I think what you're saying.
My last note about Debbie was I loved the conversation because Mark is really trying to figure out to like continue things with Amber or break up with her. And he's asked her, like, do you regret meeting Nolan, Omni-Man? And she says, no, because without him, I wouldn't have you, and I love you. And he goes, well, take me out of the equation. And she like doesn't have an answer. And she's pretty much like, probably not. And that was like a very real conversation. I just, everything about Debbie's story arc, I was just really into. It wasn't filler at all to me. I feel like anyone who's saying this season was filler, it's like really getting into the nitty gritty of the amount of time they spend on Donald, like, not to jump all over the place. That whole line of thinking that this was a filler season is just kind of bullshit to me.
Well, also, I mean, even in terms of the grander story arc, it's still setting up a lot. Like, Omni-Man's trial coming up. I mean, it just, it's not filler. Like a lot of stuff is going on. It's getting set up. It's just for the next season or whatever. Yeah.
Alan, what do you think about Alan? Him dying. I mean, it'd been years since I'd read the comics, so I didn't really remember exactly his story, but I thought he was dead. I
hadn't read it. Yeah, I didn't read it, so I just thought he died. Right.
I did read that, but it was so long ago that this might as well be new to me. So like the inkling that like I was like, I'm pretty sure he's okay, but like that was horrifying because again, it's like it's a juxtaposition of like what was happening with Invincible with his own father. But, we know Invincible survived, obviously. But, like, you watch him just get ripped to shreds in space by a bunch of the Viltrumites. And it's like, it cuts to, like, scenes of his little alien girlfriend sitting in a diner watching out in space. Yeah. Like, they're in, like, a space diner, and she can, like, put her face on the glass and, like, watch what's happening. And she's like, oh, my God. You're just like, this is killing me. Like, oh man, it was brutal.
So I do like how they set him up as sort of a kind of a Saiyan and Doomsday like evolutionary being, where the closer he gets to death, he just evolves to be stronger because of it. And that was kind of cool. And
so his like episode that is like it's later in the season, I think it's close to the end, but like his episode where it's like kind of showing his origins and who he is to the, I don't know what, let's call it the Galactic Republic or whatever it's called. But like, you know, like, and they all see the Viltrumites as this alien force of like, you know, Nazis, basically. His role in that group of people, that conglomerate of planets that are like against the Viltrumites, and they're basically, he's like their sole chance at stopping them, is one, very well done and written, but also too, it's just like almost horrifying because you're like, this is all you got. But watching him get ripped apart, like it just made him stronger, and you're just like, oh well, maybe he is going to be their savior, like kind of thing. But you also like get this impending sense that like clearly he's going to need Invincible's help. He's going to need the Heroes from Earth's help, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe Omni-Man's help,
and probably Omni-Man.
Maybe all of them together.
But one of my favorite bits with Alan is when he's waking up from his coma, and it's the leader of the Resistance that's voiced by Optimus Prime. And he's like, I have a secret to reveal to you. And he pulls his beard off, and it's just a mustache. And Alan's like, oh my God, you're a Viltrumite.
Yeah, that was great.
I love that the thick mustache is like a fucking sign. Like the Magnum PI stash is like a sign that
it's a sign of a pure Viltrumite. Yeah.
Also, like in the dorm room, his roommate has like a Magnum Pie poster or something on the wall. And I was like, that's funny.
Well, we do. Well, speaking of Viltrumites, we do also. So at the end of season 1, I think Omni-Man kind of explains what Viltrumites are, but we do get like a pretty interesting view into. They're just this hyper militaristic sort of Spartan society.
I think we get a much better look at it this season.
So
like
I thought that was kind of
interesting. He explains it in the last season, and Mark, being mostly human in terms of how he was raised, at least, is very resistant, obviously, and they had that huge fight. But like, I don't know, it to me it seemed like a really interesting aspect of Mark's resistance to it. It wasn't that he was just human; it was that like what they were doing didn't make a whole lot of sense to him, period, you know, kind of thing. So even as it's explained to him in the end of season 2 by Anissa, he's still like, you know what, fuck off. Like, even though humans are humans and they're faulted and they suck, like on a lot of levels that you're well aware of, because you can just crush their heads like little, like, you know, peanuts. They have like a quality to them that you can't describe, and they need to be able to make their own faults and blah blah blah. And like that whole argument he has with her, like at the cruise ship fight at the end, is fantastic.
Yeah, but I just like
he's not fighting for humans to be that they're better and they don't need the Viltrumites to come in and help everybody. He's just saying, let them make their own mistakes. Like, fuck off, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah,
very Superman.
And I just kind of liked the insight into how Viltrumites operate, because even something like they kind of defeat Mark early on, you know, on the bug planet, they basically defeat Mark and his dad, but they leave Mark alive. And some of it is maybe just plot armor of be alive. But I do like the kind of justification they give it of the way they view it is they can't risk kind of nipping in the bud a future strong Viltrumite. Their view is more like, hey, if you can get stronger and are useful to us, we'd rather just have you be alive than murder you now for no reason. And it kind of, within the context of their society, it kind of makes sense that they'd more prioritize growing up like a super strong killing machine than just killing this guy because he's in the moment an annoyance, right?
Doesn't Nolan like reveal they're like going extinct for some reason? There's like only like 100 Viltrumites left, or
because they're pure bloods. They don't allow mudbloods, you know.
But doesn't
I don't think he directly states that in the show, does he?
I think he does, yeah.
Oh,
they basically say that. I mean, like, if I'm not mistaken, I feel like Mark and his bug child are like freaks and they shouldn't be allowed. typically.
I think Mark's allowed to. Humans
I think Mark is
are
close enough to a pureblood
Yeah.
where it's
is that what it is? Yeah.
But the bug one
think
isn't. I think he's
I
different
think they
enough.
make a statement saying that the older Mark gets, the more his Viltrumite DNA like overtakes.
Will, like,
his human
overtake.
DNA.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
and he'll basically be a pureblood Viltrumite like 100 years from now or something.
Yeah, because they did. Because again, to Al's point, they do treat him like not. They treat him as like a young dummy, not as an enemy. They treat him like one day,
right? Yeah, they treat
you're
him
gonna
as a
join
child,
us,
like
and you're gonna carry out your job
who's
whether you want
throwing
to
a
or not.
tantrum, right?
Yeah,
Than,
yeah.
I do want to say, if the Viltrumites need to breed more Viltrumites, and Anissa's looking,
I mean,
for
just
that,
hang out with Anissa.
like I'm available. Like our DNA is close enough. I just want to put that out there. Just want to.
After season 1, how do you feel about the quote unquote like redemption of Omni-Man? Like, does he deserve it? Do you feel like
yeah, I'm ambivalent on it, because obviously the main part of me is obviously he's a piece of shit, horrible person, and he should die.
Or he was for however long.
Is present tense. Part of me though, yeah. Another part of me, though, kind of gets what they're trying to do. For example, at the end when he's in prison and he kind of looks to the camera and says, "I think I miss my wife." So part of you is kind of like immediately reacts with, "Well, fuck you, piece of shit. You had a wife and you threatened to destroy her, whatever. You deserve everything."
Called her a pet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another part of me, I get what they're doing with this idea of, what if Superman grew up in a race of supermen and learned to view other people as lesser? What would it look like if kind of over time they fell in love with a mortal and kind of gradually started to come to grips with that idea? So I kind of get that, but honestly, 90% of me is just, fuck you, dude. You can die. You can die.
So on that, that's my immediate reaction when Mark is brought to this alien planet with the bug people, like off this like false, narrative that he's supposed to be there to like help people or whatever. But really it's just a trick by his father to like bring him there, and when he gets there, they're all like, yeah, we're actually okay. We just wanted you to meet your dad again. And he's like, what the fuck? And then, you find out the alien, he's the king of all the aliens because he lives forever and they die in like 100 days or whatever it is, kind of thing. But his reaction at the end of that episode is just like, Dad? And instead of like, I was like, why didn't he immediately go, yeah, and like fly right at him? I was like, I would be so ready to just
the shock. I don't know.
Start fighting again, though. I don't know. I was almost blown away that his reaction was also more visceral.
So we also find out that Omni-Man has a queen bug consort, bride, or whatever.
Yeah.
When they met, she was like a teenager, a child. It's really problematic.
If anything, yeah.
It's really, that whole thing is. So again, the dad like is a piece of shit. I don't mean to say he's not. He is a piece of shit.
Well, he immediately went to another planet where they saw him as a god and just like did the same thing over again.
Just found a child to groom into his. I mean, he's awful. But I do see what they're trying to do with this idea of like, what if a god fell in love with a mortal, and slowly realizing that.
I think it's normal that he fell back into his normal, quote unquote, routine of like what he would do on some other planet. I think the struggle or the redemption of him is that he's realizing that that's wrong. Yeah. And granted, he wronged more people in that process. Don't get me wrong, but those alien bug people were definitely victims of him. But then
he's terrible. The whole reason they all died because the Viltrumites got there was because he was there. He's awful. He's awful.
Yeah.
He's terrible.
So that's one of the things you wanted to talk about, Al. You want to talk about the Viltrumite fight on the bug world?
Yeah. So the one part about the Viltrumite fight I wanted to talk about is that Mark is getting his ass handed to him on a platter. And then his dad says something, Omni-Man says something like, Mark, just fight, dude, or you'll die. And Mark's like, all right, I'll stop holding back. And then he just beats the shit out of the Viltrumite. And I thought that was pretty badass.
Yeah,
well, he
that was
says he said, stop holding back. And Mark says, I'm not. And he's like, she's trying to kill you. If you're not also trying to kill her, she's going to kill you. And then that's when Mark, like,
Yeah, and
he still
Mark,
doesn't kill her. And he shows mercy and gets stabbed in the.
but he beats the crap out of her and like
Yeah.
turns into a real badass.
Mhm.
When Nolan kills that woman, I audibly gasped. Like,
It was brutal. Yeah,
I don't know if y'all remember, but he
brutal.
puts his elbow through her jaw basically and detaches
Yeah.
the jaw from the
That's
face.
it.
Yeah.
Elbows or jaw off. Yeah,
Insane.
So one of the things that I really liked about season 2, on that note, is that they kind of show a little more backstory with Omni-Man about like, or Nolan about like, not only was he a Viltrumite and doing all the things that other Viltrumites do, but he's kind of legendary amongst them and being really good
like
at his job.
Apparently,
And it's just like you're like, that's even more horrifying because he's even scarier than Mark already thought he was, because he's like the one that they're all like, we're kind of scared of you, but we're gonna fight you now. There's 3 of us. You know?
I think it's basically him and the One-Eyed General are basically the 2 strongest Viltrumites.
Well, then they also kind of, to make Anissa seem really intimidating, Cecil does like a scan of her and says that she potentially is stronger than Nolan. Like her body density and stuff.
Yeah, her body. Let's talk about her body.
Her body's insane. Yeah. Should we talk about it? I kind of want to talk about Amber. If we want to talk about Anissa, it kind of goes hand in hand because.
All right, let's talk about Amber a little bit.
Well, so Amber, I felt like they really fucked up her character in season 1 with the whole, I've known you've been invincible the entire time, but I'm still mad at you because you didn't trust me. I thought that was like I thought what they were trying to do was like show how smart she is. Like she's like Lois Lane and she's like a detective, but the fact she was still mad at him, like she didn't have the understanding that like there's a reason he was keeping it secret. I felt like they really botched her character in that first season. And I felt like the second season they did redeem her character. Mm-hmm. And like in the comic book, they break up because literally they never see each other, and Amber literally starts dating some other guy basically. But this one, the whole scene with Anissa showing up and having her hands on Amber's neck, and when Amber, like you can feel the tension and the fear of that Amber has, and then after it's over and Mark goes back to see her and she talks about how Anissa's fingers felt like iron on her neck, and just basically saying like, I know that your life is really important and what you do is important, but like my life matters too. And I like, it kind of just gave a better reason for why they broke up. And I felt like they did a much better job with her character than what they did with her in the first season.
Well, I agree. I thought their relationship and their breakup was done really well in this season.
Yeah.
I thought they really did a good job of displaying, because going back to the Lois Lane example, in traditional comics, we just kind of take it for granted of, oh, this superhero god man has a human girlfriend and hijinks and all that. It's fine. And we've been doing it for 50 years in comics and it's great. But I think season 2 did a really good job of, well, what is it actually like to date Superman? He's never at home because he has to go out to space for 4 months. So what relationship can you build? What relationship can you build with someone who's absent anyway?
So they start the season with the understanding that he's a superhero and that she's going to be cool with him leaving all the time. And then immediately the stress of him leaving all the time, which happens very fast and very frequently. Right. He's like, I have to go into space. Like I'll be gone for 4 weeks. I'll be gone for 6 weeks. I don't know when I'm coming back, that kind of thing. And even, and a small caveat to that relationship is his best friend, who's also covering for him at school and all this shit kind of thing. But like, I don't know, that whole idea that like, we're cool with you being a superhero. We're going to be your friend still. And then that struggle throughout the season, I thought was painted very well and like done in a very consistent arc over the 8 episodes in terms of like, what step along the way we were at with like he's been gone, or how does that feel to them? And even at the end, when they did break up, it genuinely felt like a childhood breakup of mine.
Well, or
many people where like, it's not like you're like, I hate you, or we're going to break up, I'll never talk to you again. It was more like, this just isn't working. So what do we do? You know, like kind of thing. Like, how long do we just keep doing this when it's not working? And now I'm in danger. And that Anissa thing put it over it's the straw that broke the camel's back in the strongest way possible, because she was like horrifyingly threatened directly by like somebody that they didn't even know was coming their way, you know, kind of thing.
No, but I think the Amber Mark relationship, they nailed.
It was fantastic
because it's, you know, as a human being, like if you live long enough, you've had a breakup where you know, both people honestly still love each other. It just isn't working for whatever reason. And obviously
and
this is
like
fiction and it's a superhero and it's fantasized, but it's still a human condition of you love a person that you just can't
be with. It's
just
this sad
like,
realization that they can't continue the way that they're continuing, but that's an aspect of Mark he can't give up.
Right.
And it's not like he can set it aside and be like, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm recommitted to you and school and my friends and I'll be here. He just can't, because so again, it kind of goes back to that beginning conversation I was saying when like Mark's trying to decide whether or not he wants to be a superhero or be in school, and he decides to focus on school. But by the end of the season, he realizes like, not only is that not going to work, but my enemies and the villains out there in this world, in this universe, aren't going to let me do that, whether I want to or not. So it's just going to be, I'm just going to constantly be fucking leaving you and shafting you or, you know, and abandoning you, or maybe you'll die because I'm here, you know, around you kind of thing. Yeah, and I think it's that slow realization that that's what's going to happen is, one, upsetting, but two, like just painted in such a well done picture. I really, really enjoyed the time they spent on that aspect of the story, and they didn't just like rush through it and go like, oh, we're a human girlfriend, see you later, break it up, you know, kind of thing.
Right. And to Patrick's point, I just think it was a good catalyst for the breakup, is just that very visceral, you know, Anissa's attack and just that real brush with death, and this kind of like you're just not safe dating this person because an alien can drop out of the sky and threaten to kill you like at any moment.
Like while they were talking about like spring break or whatever they were talking about, and all of a sudden her neck's about to be snapped, and it's established that Mark could not handle Anissa, so he couldn't even stop her. Like if Anissa wanted to kill Amber,
no, he could not. I mean, it would
absolutely
the whole cruise ship fight and everything, and like Anissa just literally schooled Mark, took him to school. Yeah, literally. I mean, he could not have stopped her from doing anything that she wanted.
Not at all.
Which is again why she's a perfect woman. What other aspects did we want to hit? I mean, there's so much to talk. Like we haven't hit all the supporting cast, like Rexplosion's character arc.
Rexplosion, great,
into just a piece of shit man into less of a piece of shit man. Robot and monster girl's relation. There's just a lot going on.
Yeah, he's a real piece of shit, but I really enjoy
Adam Eve. We haven't even talked about Eve's whole thing.
Let's stick on Rex for 1 second. Like they have to go deal with the little alien squid guys. But they leave like the B team at home, and then they have like, I don't know, basically Cobra Commander and and Cobra from G.I. Joe is the bad guys, or Cobra from the Flash comics, whatever you want to call it. They go and fight, and like we lose the multi girl. What's her name? I forget all their names.
Duplicate.
Yeah, that's right. And then what's the girl that shrinks down like the atom and blows?
Shrinking Ray.
Good job, Patty.
She gets
whatever. Duplicate girl, got it.
Yeah,
Duplicate's death was traumatizing.
Well, that's the whole
scene with them all dying.
Like she got deep. She got like physically fucked up inside a dude expanding. Like she got really messed up.
Oh yeah, that was fucked up. But so the deaths of them while Rex is also running around trying to like just stay alive is crazy. And the fact that he survived, it was one of those things where I was like, he got shot through the head, and then I'm like, well, I guess he has powers. I don't know what those powers mean, you know, like kind of thing.
But I think if the angle's right, you can survive a headshot.
Well, yeah, I know you can, but
not you. You know, still. I say use. It's a common thing. I think it's possible to survive a gunshot.
Yeah, I mean, there's like stories of people getting like iron bars shoved through their skull, and they're like, I'm fine, you know, or whatever. But
I think he's
it's
also
pretty rare.
Yeah, I think he's also a meta-human where he has like it's like the boys where everyone has like enhanced durability and
Yeah, he's got
and shit
something
like that.
going on.
Also,
obviously.
Cecil's group has just magic medicine science tech.
That too,
Cecil. I think
yeah.
I called him Caleb earlier. Correct that.
Yeah,
Rexplosion, like healing in the hospital and stuff, and not having a hand, and after all that ordeal, and also multiple teammates dead, and like both him and Adam Eve, both Mark and Adam Eve, like visit him in the hospital, and like it's maybe getting shot through the head changed his personality a little
Possibly.
but he's like he's just like, fuck, I almost died, and he literally says to Mark like, yeah, my life literally flashed before my eyes. I know that sounds stupid, but like that actually happened, and I realized I'm a fucking
Yeah, he's
asshole.
like, I was a
And,
piece
like,
of shit my whole life.
yeah.
Yeah, I need to change. Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that aspect of that. It was kind of like I was like, fuck, they even gave this random dickhead that we all kind of hated in season 1, like this like growth arc where he's become a better person.
I honestly,
cool.
I liked all of the little superhero team story arcs. I liked all their character growth. I thought it all seemed genuine and sweet. Even honestly, in season 1, Robot was a little creepy, especially how he cloned Rex to take his body. And like all of it seemed sort of insidious, like undertones, and I didn't know where that character was going. But in season 2, he seemed more like he's genuinely just attempting to be human and like have a relationship with people, and just doesn't know how. Again, I don't know what happens in the comics or like if there's other turns.
It's been way too long since I read them.
When he makes the clone body in the show, does he transfer his consciousness into the new body? And that's it? Because in the comic book, he transfers his consciousness into the new clone body, but his other body's still alive, and he has to kill his.
I don't know. Yeah,
his original personality is still in the fucked up body.
No, I think in the show that I don't remember season 1, but I think something similar happens where he kills off the original body.
Okay, well that's interesting because I don't remember that. But number 2, it's interesting how often that idea comes about because the Mahler boys, the brothers, like that's the constant idea is like one of us is original.
Look, Christopher Nolan's Prestige is all about
and that's all in this, like that whole idea of like I cloned myself, and then they argue about who's the original clone, and the whole joke after episode 1 is that one of them is scarred from the explosion, and he like survived or whatever. So when he clones, he's like, I know I'm the original because I have the scars or whatever. And I just thought I love that like immediate dichotomy of, or like the opposite of like what the relationship was in the beginning in the first season, when like it's just like you don't know which one's the real one. They're always arguing about who's smarter and who's the real one. And then in this one, the clone is just like, fuck, he's got me. He's got all the scars like the whole time. And I'm like, how many ideas he puts into the cloning of anybody in general, but just like in the books, it's just so funny. Like that he's explored every aspect of what he can do with it. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, but I just meant to say that even the robot, like I thought all the side characters had really good.
Oh, you mean the robot nerd guy?
My 2 favorite Rex moments was when Cecil fires Robot as the leader, and he's like, Immortal's gonna be the leader now, and Immortal floats down from the ceiling, and Rex was like, were you just waiting up there this whole time, waiting for your cue to come down?
It's like a Batman Injustice. It's a very Batman moment of like, you've just been sitting there the whole time.
You've just been hanging out.
He's like, you
room?
weren't you? You were up there this whole time, just waiting.
But he didn't say the device worked.
Yeah, but it also reminded me.
I've been here for over 2 hours.
And then when the dynamic with Rex and Shapesmith,
it makes it so stupid when you put it in the Batman voice.
Yeah.
I've been here for
That's
2 hours.
what Batman. I've been here for 2 hours.
Where are the other trucks going?
Where?
Yeah, sorry, Patty, go on.
When Rex does when they're training, Shapesmith shows up and he says, "I'd like to run while remaining in a stationary position. Is that cool, beans?"
Yeah.
And Rex just goes, "Where are you from?" And then
Shapesmith is great. So for I guess listeners, if you haven't seen the show, so Shapesmith is a Martian. He's a Martian manhunter who's stowawayed his way to Earth and is trying to be an Earthman, and he's a real Earthman now, and acts like it. But yeah, he does all sorts of stuff like Patrick said, like
superhero.
He sees a treadmill and he's like, "Where can I run in a stationary position?" Like that. That's just how he does it.
Oh man, it's so good.
He's pretty
James Smith
great.
is
He's
fantastic.
also
Benny Schwartz. Come on, he's great.
And then he goes, "I'll just be over there in a stationary position," and he gets on the treadmill and he just starts running, but like he doesn't turn the treadmill on. He's just like basically just doing.
Yeah, he's just moving his legs up and down.
So stupid.
Oh, Shea Smith is great, man.
Also, when they go back to Mars to deal with the Starro,
let's talk about the squids for.
He has a lot of good moments in that.
Yeah, there's some good moments there, but like my favorite fucking part is like when it's all over, because they get I don't know, interrupted when they're leaving by the regular Martians. And the Martians are like, "Yeah, you can't leave with him. He's a criminal. Like we're keeping him here." And I guess because of the flippant nature of like Rex and some of the other like team, and sort of, I don't know, I just kind of, you get the general impression that they probably would have been cool with leaving him behind, but then it just cuts to them like flying spaceships and they're trying to escape. They're like, "Yeah, we had to escape out of there." Because they were like not willing to leave him behind. And I thought that was like adorable and like, I don't know, just cute in some weird level that they were like, you know what, he's insane, but he's part of our team now, so fuck off, we're taking him with us, kind of thing. And I really enjoyed that like aspect of that little bit of the story. All right, let's talk about this Angstrom fight at the end, I guess.
Okay, so this is the only part I wanted to talk about. The Angstrom fight was at the end. Angstrom talks all this game of like, I've grafted parts onto myself to make me stronger and this and that. And then he pisses off Invincible because he threatened his family and stuff. So Invincible kills him. And then Invincible just said, "I thought you were supposed to be strong." Or like, "I thought you were stronger." And I was like, that is so badass. That was such a badass line. I think he just said, "I thought you said you were strong." I mean, right? Was that the line?
It's something along those lines. He's like, "I thought you were strong. I thought he was strong."
Or "I thought you were stronger," and because it's just like this little punk was really just nothing. He's an ant.
I loved the random worlds he was sending him to.
Yes.
I was instantaneously frustrated with Mark for continuing to try to fly at him and
that part. But that's
so annoying.
Yeah,
but like
he finally figured it out. He waited. He didn't go through the portal that one time, and Angstrom pops his head through, and that's when he bullets him.
Yeah.
But the world of the talking dinosaurs was hilarious.
That one
the
was
talking
great.
Dinosaurs is funny. There's the psychotically gross concentration camp where Mark's karate chopping heads off people in a line waiting to get to him. Yeah. There's a little Spider-Man.
Well, then also
there's a little Spider-Man.
Yeah, and this whole thing again, when Angstrom comes back, we get a lot more of the building up of that character and the whole idea that basically our Mark is the only
good Mark. Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, the only one that
that he knows. Again, if there's infinite universes, he's probably visited 12,000.
I actually really enjoyed the infinite universe where he was just sitting at a campfire talking to other teenagers about what was going on. So it's like that's a fun little like other worlds. He's like, it's Mad Max, it's Jurassic Park.
There's no more zombies, right?
Yeah, there's and then it just cuts to him being like, "Yeah, and this guy just threw me over here. I don't know. What are you guys doing? Making s'mores?" Kind of thing. And they're like talking. It's weirdly therapeutic and interesting kind of thing.
But I did also like, because again, Angstrom is supposed to be kind of a genius, so it's a very Bane-like strategy of I'm just going to tire him out. I have to tire him out before I go at him.
I thought that was kind of cool, though. I liked it, though.
Yeah, so just like dimension after dimension, and like zombies and this and that.
No, he was strong. You just knew he had like survived the ordeal. So like at that moment when he finally reveals like, "Oh, I haven't just been sending you around for fun. I was softening you up so I could beat the crap out of you."
He was doing.
Because there is a moment where like Mark grabs him and like shoves him into the sidewalk, and like it's like ripping apart, and he's like, and I was like, in my head, I was just like, this brain guy with his brain on the outside of his body is gonna survive getting his back like drug across the ground like that, and apparently I was wrong, and he did.
Yeah. He set up this whole Bane-like kind of trial to tire him out, to then go at him. Unfortunately, he wasn't as strong as he thought he was.
Clearly not, because Mark smashed him to death.
Yeah.
What do you think about that moment?
It was intense for sure. It goes on for a long time. Like in the comic, it's like one page, and in this, he's punching him for like a solid like minute.
Yeah.
So I did think it's an interesting choice, right? Because this is basically this is an event that like Mark, you know, the protagonist doesn't come back from this. Like if this was Superman, for example, like Superman has killed a person. Like that is just, it's canon. It has happened. And he can be a good guy moving forward and all of that, but it's just, he's murdered somebody now. And that's something that the character has to figure out. And we as a reader have to figure that out. Like our hero has murdered, like he, in a passionate rage, beat a man to death.
Yeah, well, so
there's
two aspects of that I would say speak to Mark's goodness in that moment. One, Levy very clearly says beforehand, like, this will not end until you and your family are dead. And it wasn't like it wasn't the threat of himself, it was the threat of like his mother and his baby brother.
Okay, Joe, I those are all details though. I mean, the main point is, you know, Batman never kills any
details matter, Al.
Okay, well, Batman in the film kills everybody. In the comics doesn't kill anyone. But I mean, aside from those details, I just mean that we are now in a world where, again, our Superman, like our protagonist hero, has murdered somebody, and
Superboy.
Superboy. So that's something that A, as an audience, you know, we have to reconcile moving forward, and B, he also, as a character, he also has to.
You know what? Based on the weight that they gave the events of season 1's finale in this season, I would hope that they don't self-correct season 3 to be what it shouldn't be in terms of like all the haters out there for season 2. I really hope season 3 is the same kind of feel of this season and addresses the remorse and or like difficulty of Mark dealing with what he had done with the same weight that they did with season 2 and what he was going through from season 1. My hope is that season 3 continues this season 2 vibe of like, I did this horrible fucking thing. And I didn't even have a chance to like reconcile with it. Like the idea that like he's stuck on this planet now because he murdered Angstrom and it's the only way out of that planet doesn't have time to fully like psychologically set in with Mark because he's rescued in 0 time, because in real life, like the heroes come and save him. But like,
they time travel.
You know, I really hope that season 3 does the same thing season 2 did and helps him like psychologically and emotionally deal with like what he did. You know,
also,
and we'll see what happens with season 3. But
but also with the idea, you know, the earlier fight we talked about with the Viltrumites, where Omni-Man said, "Mark, you know, if you're not trying to kill them, you're going to lose." And so then he kind of tries to kill them, but then pulls back, right? But then
he gets and he learns his lesson, so to speak.
So you know, you fast forward to this Angstrom fight, and he just finally says, like, "Fine, I'm going to fight to kill you," because you know. Anyway, these are all things that Mark has to reconcile and deal with. How do you be a hero and, you know, hold back enough to not murder somebody, but fight with intent so that you can win the fight? Where is that line? You know, he's like a 19-year-old Superman trying to figure all this out. And unfortunately, in trying to learn those lessons, he's in the meantime murdered somebody.
It does break him, though. I mean, I think they did a very good job.
He loses his mind on that desert planet.
He's literally starts when he's like, I'm talking to myself, and he's like, well, there's no one else here. What's the difference if I'm talking in my head? And like him trying to rationalize it and like the guilt and the shame. And he's like, well, he said he's going to kill my family, but I'm not supposed to kill. And he's kind of just flying. And then he's like, I'm stuck on this planet. And he laughs to himself. He's like, oh, I guess Angstrom kind of won. Like kind of almost, he laughs as if like his life is also over anyways, because now he's a fucking murderer like his dad. Like he doesn't. But
and then all of a sudden he has time to reconcile with that. He's saved. That's the key, though.
So
like
so
it almost would have been better if they had left him for 6 months to like just survive on this planet and like kind of like calm
that's
down.
not how the Deus Ex Machina works. He just gets to go right back to Earth for season 3. Yeah.
I honestly, well, yeah, because that's what they would do. Like, who wouldn't go to save him right away? Like, if you had time travel at your fingertips, like, you're going to go save him, even though it took them a lifetime, you would go save him at the point that he was lost.
Yeah.
Like, that makes complete sense on
their
side of things.
Yeah, sharp right turn. Are you all shipping Adam and Mark, or how do you feel about that? I mean, Eve. Adam, Eve.
Yes.
Eve and Mark.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, right? I think that's a pretty universal desire to have them hook up, right?
That's why, like, again, I did enjoy the Amber Mark relationship more this season than last season, but especially when I was reading the comic, I was like, this whole Amber thing is a fucking waste of time. We all know, like, it's headed towards the Adam Eve.
Oh yeah, the Adam Eve thing in the comic, I think, is more obvious. They do a better job of, like, moving it along in a more interesting, dynamical way.
Well, I think season 2 did a good job of basically, like, come on, let's.
Oh yeah, clearly, but yeah, and that's where it's heading. But I mean, even at the end of season 2, like when future Adam Eve comes to Mark in the future, like future for them, but like Mark's present, obviously, to take him back in time to his space and time. She basically says, like, yeah, I love you, dummy, like, kind of thing, and so he knows that now, like, we're like, come on, how do you not know that? But like, he knows it now in terms of, I'm a kid and I'm an idiot and I'm not picking up on women's signals. But like, they go to have a conversation and he's just like, yeah, I have something to tell you. And then he kind of never says it. And she's like, okay, well, I'm here. I have 2 shoulders for you to cry on, kind of thing. And I don't know, that left it at least a nice little door into, like, well, maybe next season they'll get together, kind of.
Also, one bone to pick with Eve, she has more than 2 shoulders she can cry on. She can create additional shoulders at will with her power.
Yeah, she can just create so many shoulders.
To only offer 2 is, I think, pretty stingy.
Yeah, it's a little weak sauce,
Her behalf.
I enjoy, real quick, her story arc was fun because she's like all powerful, but she keeps making mistakes. Like, she reconstructs Chicago and it all falls down. And then she's fighting that guy who's like Mega Man, and she kind of fucks that up. And like, the fact she's like basically got limitless potential, possibly even more so than Mark with her powers, but she's basically just back at home letting her dad abuse her verbally, and
her parents
really
are
down
awful.
herself.
Her parents are awful.
It's weird because it's interesting because the dad,
her mother's in an abusive
really
relationship, and Eve knows it and doesn't do anything about it, and then also is immediately weirdly susceptible to it because she's self-doubting.
Well, because she grew up. I mean, again, they have power, and they're her parents. I mean, they're like adopted parents, but yeah, that's what trauma and having fucked up parents is they have this control over you.
Again, such a well-painted picture of that, though. Like, that's so.
But I meant more just physically. They disgust me. They're these fat Midwestern-looking people who they're just gross. I don't like them. And Eve's like beautiful. She's like in shape and looks good, and she's just chained to these gross-looking Midwest fat people.
She's
probably eat cheese curds and shit. Like just awful.
God damn it,
awful people.
Al, you're such a like a coastal elitist,
I can't help the fact that I live in Boston. I'm sorry. I live in the Northeast. I'm sorry if I live in an elitist city. Okay, next topic.
Duplicate and immortal. That's the last thing I want to talk about.
Duplicate and immortal. Let's talk about
duplicate and immortal.
2 people who are in shape. They're both in the gym often. They are in shape.
Yeah.
Pat, let's talk about just immortal. I mean, Zaddy, right?
Yeah, he's definitely on the Snyder Zeus. Yeah.
Like, what more of a silver fox can you imagine than an immortal bearded hunk?
I'd still go with Omni-Man.
Really?
Oh, you know why? Because he's got that Magnum Pie mustache.
Honestly, because I just think J.K. Simmons has like a very sexy voice for some reason.
Okay.
He does, yeah.
Did you see Whiplash? Did you see Whiplash?
Never saw it.
Because in Whiplash, J.K. Simmons he's physically, it's a live action film. So I would wonder what your reaction would be to seeing him in live action in like a tight black t-shirt.
Did he get like really ripped for that movie?
He was pretty in shape.
He's been ripped for a while. He hides it well in other movies, I think.
But it's more his voice.
Mhm.
I'd like to contrast your reaction to him in a film rather than just his voice on the
Immortal.
Oh no, I find him attractive like in live action as well. Like even
I thought we were on
Spider-Man.
final thoughts, by the way.
What were
If
we
you
talking
impregnated Duplicate and she
That'd be
duplicated,
terrible.
That's fucked up.
Do you
That is
have a lot
fucked
of
up.
children? Do the embryos duplicate?
That's horrifying to think about.
Or interesting.
I think
What
horrifying.
if Immortal and Duplicate had children?
They do have kids.
Well, what if she split while pregnant though?
So she'd have an army.
Are they all pregnant with like a mortal army? Like,
I think
what do you
so,
got? What are you
right?
working
I would
with there? That's what
imagine.
I'm interested in that scenario.
That's horrifying.
It is it's simultaneously horrifying, but also very.
But here's the rub, though. I think those kids would probably all be able to mold back into the same person, right? Because she's technically.
Or would they be able to duplicate?
Well, they can all duplicate.
Well, would they have?
So you'd have
well,
like
how,
an
would they
immortal
both have
baby
both
with,
powers, or
like
like
an
either
ability
or
to
powers?
duplicate itself. But would the duplicates be able to go back into the? Interesting.
If it's zero Kate and she's pregnant and she duplicates.
So let's keep it simple. If duplicate is zero is pregnant and she splits one time, are you having two separate children, or are you having a duplicate of the child and they can form back together?
I think it would be different. No, it would be different children, right?
No,
I think
it's
it'd
the
be
same woman.
children.
No,
but they're not the same woman. They are different. They are children. So
her powers work. She's zero.
Patrick, these are souls. These are brand new souls gifted unto these embryos, as we know through Scripture. So these are each individual.
No, because if
Joe, don't laugh. I'm being serious. It's in Scripture. Life begins at conception. These are souls.
I'm sorry. I'm way back in.
These are new souls. So these aren't clone
following
children. Each one of them is a life we have to constitutionally protect.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like.
Well, then what happens if?
Let's put it this way: does Duplicate herself have multiple social security numbers? Is it just the same? Is it the same person?
She would have one social security number.
But when the child is birthed, wouldn't that? I don't know. I think I think as much as I want it to be the other way, I think I'm on Patty's page. I think like once those duplicates had children, it would be, they could suck back into one person, but and they would still have the ability to duplicate, but they wouldn't be able to duplicate from that.
You're both wrong. You both need to find Christ. That is not how conception works.
Well, I mean, again, that's what it comes down to. It's like when is the embryo a single human being and not just a part of her body? You know.
Anyway, I need to wrap this up. So
we were all right. Let's go back to we actually wanted to talk about Immortal and Duplicate, and their
last point is they get together, and I felt like it was for shock value for Rex. He walks in with Kate, multiples of Kate all over the Immortal, and it's like a joke, whatever. So that's all I thought about their relationship. But then it gets deeper because Kate is like, well, Rex makes a comment saying, isn't it gross? He's like 1,000 years older than you. And she said, if you add up the amount of time all of my duplicates have been alive, we've basically been alive the same amount of time, which is like,
and Immortal has described it on the same level of like, she's the only one that understands me because she understands what death means because she's experienced it many, many times.
Yes.
And like,
And that's the deeper level is then she's like, he's the only one who has died as many times as I've died. And I was like, that added some deep layers to their relationship. And then she dies and Immortal is devastated because he's never had someone like that in his life before. And so then when she shows back up, he lost her. So then when she shows back up at the end, I didn't expect that. And I honestly was like a little emotional with their reunion. I was like,
I agree completely because even though I had read that in the goddamn books, I had completely forgotten about it.
Yeah.
So when she came back, I was like, she's still alive. And then I had the same reaction that Immortal had, because I was just like, why the fuck did you let me grieve and be upset all this time? And she's like, I had to be careful, and I had to know that your love was real, and I was like, there's so many aspects of that I was like, that was fucking amazing. And I loved it. I loved every second of that.
Well, it seemed like she was literally basically faked her death to get out of the superhero.
I think that was sort of implied, right? That she just wanted to get out. Yeah. I honestly had the opposite reaction. These are the single two characters that I couldn't give a shit about. As much as I talked about how I enjoyed everyone's story arc, I really couldn't care less about either of these two people. And their romance didn't hit me in any way, shape, or form other than just a plot detail that I didn't care about.
I do have one question.
So sad.
The Immortal, did he have those powers during the Civil War? And if so, why didn't he use them?
Has there been a lot of backstory about Immortal?
He's Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Wait, he's Abraham Lincoln?
Yes.
Is that in the show?
I think.
Yes.
Well, then maybe I think the clear aspect of that is that maybe no.
Wait,
and then he figured that was the first
he
lifetime.
Was Abraham Lincoln.
What?
He's always been Abraham Lincoln. Patrick's right, and I had completely forgotten that.
No, but in the show, did they reveal that? I don't remember seeing that.
I think it's season 1 conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He could have ended the Civil. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Did end the Civil War.
Well, I guess Lincoln did end the Civil War anyway.
I mean, that's what I just said.
Ended it real quickly.
Yeah, that's what I just said. He did. He did.
He could have ended slavery without there being a Civil War to begin with.
Real fast.
Could have just flown to the South and freed this. Yeah, he could have just done all that.
What are you doing? Just get him out of that jail.
How can he? What are the origins of his power? Because he's not just immortal; he can fly and is super strong. What are the origins of his powers?
No idea.
I didn't read past volume 4.
Also,
so I
Abraham
haven't watched
Lincoln,
season 2, so I don't know.
Also, Lincoln was a skinny man. When did he lift weights?
Later in life, clearly. So, overall takes season 2 of Invincible, boys. What do you guys think?
Are we done? Is there anything we're?
Oh yeah, this is recommendations. Sorry, recommendations
did we hit
Invincible season 2.
Oh, 1 second. Hold on. Let me check my mic. 1 2 1 2.
Oh, is there something?
Does this pass the Bechdel test? The Bechdel test. The Bechdel test. Does this pass the Bechdel test? The answer is probably no. Does this one? I don't remember. Does it pass? I think maybe. Are there scenes where women talk?
Oh man.
Maybe it doesn't actually.
It's borderline because the only ones that
isn't there an Amber talking with Adam Eve scene?
Yeah, but they're talking about Mark the entire time.
Yeah, they only ever talk about Mark.
Doesn't count.
I'm not sure.
And then I think Debbie talks with Red Rush's widow, but they talk about Nolan the entire time, pretty much.
Yeah,
so,
there's Debbie.
I don't think maybe
Debbie
this
talks
doesn't
with the babysitter
pass.
a lot, but not just about the babe. But I guess that's kind of counts.
I don't think this really passes, honestly.
I don't think it passes the Bechdel test. I do think there is strong female characters, and there's definitely some good story arcs for females.
Yeah, it passes the sexy lamppost.
It definitely passes the sexy lamppost and the Makamori test. But Bechdel test in the strictest sense of the word, I don't think it does. That being said, I binge watched it, so I might be forgetting something.
Yeah.
I guess
I can't think of any.
It's a no. Right, better, Robert Kirkman. Hopefully, your future volumes that translate into future seasons were better.
I did think Donald turning out to be an android, and then how he helps the gay guy who's also an android.
Boyfriend, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was an interesting little. I felt like they really. I recommend this show. They did a very good job with it.
So one thing
we're on recommendations. Okay.
Well, but one question is: so the gay boy, the gay best friend's boyfriend,
the gay boy,
the gay boyfriend. Why make him an android to bring him back? Who cares? Why not just let him die? Like, if you're the U.S. government, why do you turn that into an android?
Because
I
he's
don't know.
incredibly smart and useful. Are you kidding?
Why? I mean, I don't know. He's just a traumatized android. Like, why not just let him die?
Oh, the kid?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well, because they can bring him back. Why not? They're trying to help. You know what? Ultimately, I think that's a weird aspect of the government, secret government agency thing in this show, is that Cecil seems to be a genuinely good person at the end of the day. Like, he's trying to help, like, in all his fucked up ways of helping. Like, he is attempting to restore people's lives how they were and handle all the superhero bullshit while simultaneously, like, I don't know, giving this traumatized kid his life back. I think it's fine.
Yeah, he does. So I will say, in season 1, Cecil seems very much of a more just shadowy CIA type who has his own stuff going on, and don't trust him. Season 2 did kind of present him as a much more just kind of, well, yeah, he is a shadow CIA dude doing shady stuff, but also does seem to genuinely care for these people and is trying to kind of juggle both things of, I'm a government tool who has to hide all this stuff, but also I care for all of you. Please, everybody survive and be happy.
Yeah, like
he's sort of juggling that.
The nerdy guy's robot revelation ultimately was Cecil just had a conversation with him. It's just like, I didn't choose to hide this from you. You chose to hide this from you. You know, like, I just brought you back to life because I thought it was the right thing to do. And there was enough of you left for me to do it, you know, and I have this technology, so I don't want you to die. So, you know, like, ultimately, you know, like, it was like supposed to be this crazy secret that he is this horrible person that, like, let his friend get murdered all the time and it was expendable. But the reality was that guy had chosen to hide it from himself.
Well,
so because he didn't want to remember the trauma.
I do think the show, really cool. Though, yeah, but I do think the show doesn't really paint Cecil like as a just stark.
He's not fully altruistic.
He's not like a wonderfully clean, completely.
Yeah, of course not. Person. No, there's definitely some dark aspects to Cecil we don't even know the half of, I'm sure, right now. But I'm just saying, like, as a whole, it seems to me that he's less of that, like, evil Machiavellian government agency guy. It's really more of like, I'm just trying to do right by the people I know and love, you know, like, that are around me, you know, like, and yes, I'm going to use those people to further my means, but at the same time, I'm still trying to keep them safe and, like, trying to do what's right. Even all the conversations with him and Debbie and about the alien child, all pointed in that direction. It was just like, I know, I'm sending you babysitter after babysitter that you know are just my agents, but I'm trying to help you here. You have an alien kid. You don't know how to deal with it. She's like, I already raised an alien kid, you know, like that whole thing. But he was just like, I'm just trying to help, lady, you know, like, kind of thing. Like,
yeah,
he's not.
I mean,
ultimately, at least on the surface that we've been shown, this evil dude. He's just trying to use the resources he has to, like, protect and further the lives of the people around him.
Yeah,
while
but
still being a secret agent.
Right. But, you know, on the other side, there have been some pretty salacious allegations about power harassment and, you know, sexual favors he's asked for in locked hotel rooms with prospective hires. And, you know, there's well, you know, I'm just saying.
All right, boys, overall takes.
It's
Sorry,
good.
I keep saying that. Sorry, I keep saying that. All right, boys. Do you recommend season 2 of Invincible?
All right, I'll go first again. Not again, because it's not like we recorded 2 episodes in one night, but I'll go first. Yeah. No, I recommend it. I thought it was great. You know, again, I read a lot about how the animation and production value is lower in season 2. I thought it still held up, especially the action scenes. They did do a little bit of kind of breaking the fourth wall, commenting on animation quality when Mark goes to the comic convention and stuff, and they kind of mention animation tricks to cut budgets and stuff like that. Even given all that, I still thought as a whole it held up. I liked, you know, the character stories were all great. The action was fun. I enjoyed the season. If you liked season 1, I don't see why you wouldn't enjoy season 2.
Follow right up on that. Completely agree. Season 1 rolled right into season 2 to me, and I do think my viewing pleasure was heightened by not splitting the season in half. So I was patient and waited for the whole season to come out before I started watching it. But I could have done a week by week, like we had kind of said earlier. But like, you know, it was just, I thought it was smarter to wait for the whole season to start being finished before I started watching it. Yeah, I thought season 2 was great. I really thought it was a fantastic follow-up to season 1. I hope season 3 continues that, because we'd kind of mentioned the trauma and the time they spent dealing with that trauma from season 1, and I hope season 3 does the same thing. Animation wise, I thought it was on par with season 1. I know there was a lot of bitchiness about what was good and what was bad, but I agree with the action scenes were always there. So if they were cutting corners in areas I didn't notice, then good. You know, so I thought it was great. Loved season 2. Highly recommend. Hopefully season 3 continues the trend.
I also recommend this, plus one to everything y'all said. One thing I meant to make a point of in my overall take is that I'm not a huge fan of casting like celebrities as voice actors just for like the clout and for popularity. But I will say that like the voice actors, I think, crushed it on this, like especially Sandra Oh as Debbie and Jason Mantzoukas as Rex. Like I went back and read some of the comics, and I can only read Rex's dialogue and Mantzoukas' voice.
I agree completely.
And I just thought they all did like I think voice actors a lot of times with Western animation, I feel like isn't as strong as a lot of the Eastern animation voice actors, and I felt like they did a really good job on this show conveying emotion and the comedic beats and all that good stuff.
Yeah, the whole cast was great.
Yeah. So it's a great show. I don't understand anyone that has a complaint about it if they enjoyed season 1. I feel like it just built upon everything season 1 started, and I highly recommend it.
Well, that's 3 highly recommends, I think.
Highly recommend.
All right. That's it. Well, before we
boys,
go,
I think we won comics and / cartoons, I guess, for the week.
Before we go, we just want to mention, Couchers, we have a YouTube channel of Mobius Couch, and
that's true, we
have TikTok and Instagram accounts also for Mobius Couch. So please follow and like and all of that there, because that's important.
Yeah, we never really self-promote, but I will like just to follow up on that, like Patrick does all the work on our little shorts that we put on TikTok and Instagram, and Patty, you do a phenomenal job pulling out little clips from our shows to make them interesting for TikTok and Instagram, and I want to applaud your work. You know, that's
appreciate it.
You do a lot of work, man.
I just want to say that, like, as a group, we present the Mobius Couch together, and so it's really all of us together putting out all that content on YouTube and TikTok.
I disagree.
I'm kidding. Patrick, you're a real hero, and you do a great job.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
But just did want to say, listeners, follow us on all that stuff if you care to.
Yeah, if you want to watch our faces talking instead of just hearing the audio podcast YouTube, we do a lot of stuff on there. There's a lot of visuals to go along with our talking, is all I'm saying.
Cool. Yes. All right, Couchers.
All right, Couchers. Till next time.
Good journey, Couchers.
All right. See you later.